Hi everyone, I'm Graddles, and welcome back to our Best Start series in Satisfactory. Today we are doing bauxite. What a pain in the ass, I'm not gonna lie. So bauxite can be very frustrating. I did not use alternative recipes for this, so we did use our foundries, and it really does take a while to do. I did start it, and I was going to do it the last episode, but realized I didn't have enough power, so I needed to come back and do turbo power, because we just needed more power. So now that we got a decent amount of power going, we made the bauxite, and I broke it down into modulars, so this way it was easier to understand and follow, hopefully. And I will have pictures after each floor, so this way it explains, and I'll show the insides of the machines, and stay to the end, because really the tips at the end will make or break your factory. So let's go ahead, get in and get started. Alright, first things first, we have 2 pure nodes of bauxite coming in with minor 2s, and both overclocked to 600. Then we have a line of coal, pure node, 600 overclocked coming in, and then we have quartz coming in, pure node, overclocked 600. And eventually we will have a pure node of copper coming in, but that's for later on. So let's go ahead down to the machines, and I'll show you exactly how I set them up. Alright, so back behind here we have 10 refineries, broken into 5 and 5. They're each getting the 600 bauxite from here. So they're taking in the bauxite here, that's 5 here and 5 over there for both of our bauxite. So let's take a look at the insides of the machines. So this is going to take bauxite and water, and it's 120 per minute. So 120 times 5 is 600. So we got the perfect amount of bauxite. It's going to put out alumina solution and silica. And I have the same setup on this side. So the same thing works perfectly. So the next step, I took all the solution coming out of the 10 refineries and put them into the back of the 5. Let's take a look at what this needs. So it needs the alumina solution, and it needs the coal. Again, it needs 120 per minute. We're running a pure node, so 120 times 5 is 600. That should be perfect. So we got the coal coming in and the alumina solution. So let's go ahead and see what the output is here. So the output is going to be scrap and water. So this water is going to be rerouted back into the machines in the back, as well as water pumps. Eventually I'll show you how I set that up closer to the end, just because the water gets a little bit more complicated and sometimes it just doesn't work the way you want it. Alright, so I forgot to mention that I set everything up to be in modulars. So this way it would be easier to break down exactly what I'm doing. So we do have 2 sets here because of the bauxite, so 600 and 600. But then up here we had to go into 5. But in here, this is where we're going to start breaking things down into modulars. It's going to be so much easier for you to follow. And bauxite's one of those things that's very annoying because there's a lot of moving parts. So after each explanation, I will put a photo up and put more of the writing in there for a more detailed look at each floor that we are making in our factory. So over here, we have a red, a black, a white, a teal or turquoise, and then a blue. And all of these scraps are going to go up into the ceiling above. And here's a quick look of an overview of each of the machines. So the top one are the 2 5 refineries, each getting 600 bauxite. And there is the inside of the machine, so you could see exactly how it's set up. Next is an overview of our 5 refineries below that, with the alumina solution coming in from the 10 refineries above, and the coal coming in from the side that's coming in at 600. And up in the corner is showing you exactly the recipe that is used. And that's going to bring us to our modulars up here. So these are all color coded to match where the scraps are going to go. And as you can see, this is where our scraps and everything here. So this is where it gets way more complicated and quite annoying actually. But anyway, we have our quartz now coming in because we need to make silica for each of our ingots here. So these are making our ingots, these are our scraps, this is our silica. So silica is 75 per minute we need in here. If we break the silica down, if we overclock this, we get 75 per minute. And that is a perfect match for our ingots. So right in here, we have 4 of our constructors going into our foundries. And these are all overclocked with 2 power shards to make 75 to 75. So we have the quartz splitting off here, the quartz splitting off here, and down here we only have it going into 2 machines. So anyway, back in this area, we only have 2 constructors of silica coming into these 2 machines. And these guys, the 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, will have the silica coming from the bottom into them. These are all set up to the modulars, and there are 4 foundries per scraps down below. So I hope that actually helps you to break it down and make it a little easier for you. So here's a look at the color-coded 5 refineries below, bringing the scraps up above. Next, we have the 5 modular ingot setups, and there's 4 foundries each, and then there's 14 constructors with silica overclocked to 2 power shards. This is the inside of the ingots on the bottom left, and the 4 constructors actually go into the 4 foundries. So we have 1, 2, and 3 set up with 4 constructors behind it. The last one on the top has 2 constructors behind it. So the next step is the 6 foundries in the back get silica from the byproduct below. Alright, so here we are, and all of these are going up to the top, which will be going to assemblers and constructors. But here's where things get a little more complicated because we do have to add something to the mix. But first off, let me show you a modular setup. So we have these right here. They are putting out 60 per minute. So casings, they go to constructors and they take 90 per minute. So 3 of these will equal the 180 to 2 constructors up top that'll do our casings. 1 of these again is 60. Our sheets are only 30, and so we could put 2 assemblers to 1 of these, and that'll give us our sheets. So we have the modulars here. We have 5 of them. So each of them will be able to do 2 casings and 2 sheets. So let's go up to the top. So over here I have 2 constructors that's going to be taking the 3 down there, the white ones, and coming up to do our casings. And then we have the 1 left over on the end that can produce 2, because it's 30 per minute, that will give us our sheets. So we have 2. The only difference is here, we need copper ingots. So off over into here, I brought up copper, and I am making copper here. And there are 10 smelters to put into our machines back here. So now here we go. We have 10 per minute of copper, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have enough copper from these smelters going into the backs of these assemblers to produce our sheets. Now I know this gets really complicated, but I'm going to break it down. And if you follow the modulars, you won't have a problem. Just follow the modulars. I will show you in a detailed picture a little bit more and the insides of the machine so you know exactly what's going on. But yes, the copper is only going to the assemblers. The assemblers are 2 per modular. We have 5 modulars, so that gives us 10 assemblers. And as long as you follow your lines here, this goes into this, it merges up, that goes into the constructors, and that goes into your assemblers. You shouldn't have a problem. Alright, so here we have an above view of our sheets. So we have 10 smelters making copper ingots that are going to 10 assemblers. There are 2 assemblers per each modular down below. So in our modulars down below, we have 4 foundries and they are making the ingots. One of those ingots is coming up to the assembler, and those are getting split in 2 because sheets take 30 per minute and the ingots are making 60. So as long as we take that number, split it in 2, we can have 2 assemblers per modular below per one of the lines of ingots. Here are 10 constructors to make casings, 2 per modular below. So each of these modulars are taking 3 of the 4 of the modulars below and merging those ingots to make casings. Casings take 90 per minute, and with using 3, that is 60 times 3, we are making 180. We can split those after they've been merged into 2 to make the casings. I really do hope that you understand what I'm saying. I know it's a little bit convoluted, it's a lot, but if you watch the video and look at the photos, I think it should help. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the water. So these guys needed water coming in, and we had water pumps over here and water pumps over here. 5 to 3 works great, and we did 5 to 3 on the end over here. That works great. Now we get a byproduct of this, of water. It's the same amount that you get from the pumps outside. So we have 5 of those at 120 coming down over in here. So everything was piped underground. So this way, it would make it easier to be able to put them back into the machines up above. So here you can see we have 5 of them going to 3 here on the end. And then 5 of those going to 3 of those on the end. Now we were left with the 5 up front. So I have those. 2 of those right here, 1 and 2, are going to this side over here, which is filling these 2. But we also needed another one, so I put a pump there. So now we have 120 times 3 coming into the 2 here, and 120 times 3 coming into the pipes here. So to break that down, we have a 5 to 3 ratio, a 5 to 3 ratio, and then a 3 to 2 ratio, and another 3 to 2 ratio. And that works quite well. You don't want your water to back up at all, because if your water backs up, then you don't get to produce your scraps, which will slow down the production. Let's go up to the next floor, and you can see that all working. So this is all our color coded. We're getting the scraps, we're getting the silica. That's all coming in at a steady rate. Down over here in our constructors, same thing, we're making our silica, and that's going to these, making our ingots over to here. So everything seems to be working quite well. Let's go to the next floor. Now, I do want to tell you that I set this up for everything to be 600. Our original belts were only 4s. You need sheets to do 5s. So after I set everything up and I was producing the sheets, I went back and upgraded every single belt from the minor 2s throughout the factory to mark 5s. So everything is a Mark 5. Originally, it was a Mark 4. So this could be a pain in the ass. It's very time consuming, but I didn't want to set up my factory to only do 450 on the belts because then it's not big enough. I wanted a big factory. So by setting everything up with the Mark 4s, which is the only thing I had at the time, and then upgrading it later on lets us have a nice big factory. So yeah, don't forget to upgrade all your belts. Double, triple, quadruple check your belts. Because yesterday I was going crazy. I had belts that were only doing 450 and it was driving me nuts. And I brought Jemson in and he went back and checked my work, and there was one small spot that I did not upgrade with the Mark 5, and it was still a Mark 4, and that is why my coal wasn't coming in fast enough. So yes, double, triple, quadruple. And if you notice that there's a slow up somewhere, it's probably in your belts 99% time. So let's go up to here. I want to show you something and how you can actually kind of get an idea of how your belts are working. All right, so up here you can see I put these monitor throughputs in, and this way I knew that everything was coming in at 600. And that is because these things are coming directly from the miners. So I know there's no backup all the way back through there. So if you know for sure that everything coming down into your lifts, and your lifts have to be changed to Mark 5, if you know that everything up here is perfect, then you know the problem would have to be in your factory somewhere. But as you can see, everything's running smoothly in my factory, and everything is coming in on the belts perfectly at 600. So these belts can actually hold up to 780, but we don't have a Mark 3 miner yet, so it wouldn't even matter. So everything's at 600. So anyway, yeah, that is how you would set it up, but let me go down because there is more. So I did tell you at the beginning that the tips at the end are going to make and break your factory. So tip number 1, make sure you sink all the extra silica that's coming from below into your sink. If you don't, your silica will back up if it's not being used, and it will stop your machines from making any more stuff. So you'll just put a hold on everything. The next tip is another sink, which I got from Jemson. So let's go ahead and get up there. So this tip I got from Jemson yesterday, and that is anything we are not storing or sending off to the hub should be sank. So we have to sink that into our sinks, and this way we have one set up here. Let me show you for our extra sheets, which we're not producing any extra sheets right now, but over here we are making extra casings. And the reason why you want to sink it, he said, is you don't want any of these machines to go down. The water will back up, or the silica will back up, or the, everything, it won't flow. Everything will start backing up, and then it'll mess up the production. So as long as you have a constant flow of stuff going through, your machines will stay up and running. So make sure that you sink the extra that you're not storing into your sinks. And yeah, that's great advice. It won't let any of the machines go down. It'll keep everything flowing and everything running the way it should run. So anyway, that's going to conclude today's episode. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned from it. If you didn't, if you found it complicated, I tried to make it as simple as possible with the modulars. But yeah, if you let me know in the comments below. I want to know how I'm doing. If it's helping you, I want to know. If it's not helping you, I want to know. So I take criticism very well. But yeah, that's going to conclude today's episode. And if you like, subscribe, comment, and share. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.